Listen, I don't want people to take what I say here and run with it, because at the end of the day, I think it's highly unlikely Zion is going to be traded or request to be traded, and the Pelicans are going to do everything in their power to keep him. But because it's the Pelicans, and they have been known not to make the best decisions in the past in retaining superstar level talent, and because the situation with Zion and his future could prove to be something that has never been done before, although unlikely, I thought that I would talk about it and how the Bulls could potentially benefit from the Pelicans' incompetence, which already somewhat happened with Lonzo, and because the Bulls are taking on the Pelicans tonight in their second preseason game, I figured what better way than to talk about it here. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. I don't think I need to go into detail on the background of Zion and how he got to the NBA and where he's at right now. I think most people who have been following the NBA know that he was an incredibly highly recruited prospect coming out of high school for his elite athleticism and freak of nature build. Going into the college and then playing for Duke, it was instantly recognized that whatever team landed the #1 pick in the draft was going to get a generational talent and a franchise-changing player. The type of #1 pick where you know it could change the trajectory of your franchise that you could build around, similar to consensus #1 picks like LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan. That level of talent, good. And despite having some injuries that didn't allow him to have as strong of a start to his career as some of the other players that I just mentioned, it's pretty clear that Zion does have superstar potential and could be the face of the league in just a few years' time. However, what could prevent that from happening is by playing for a team that has been notoriously bad at building around franchise level players. And unfortunately for Zion, the Pelicans lucked out in landing the #1 pick for the year in which he was drafted. Now, for all of those saying that Zion is overrated and won't become the player he was expected to be when entering the NBA, I would respond to that saying, you really need to watch this guy play to fully understand the level of talent this guy has and the versatility to his game. And of course, not even being in his prime yet, only being 21 years old. Last season, Zion was an all-star. He averaged 27 points per game, just slightly below that of Zach Lavine. He averaged 7.2 rebounds per game and 3.7 assists. He's actually a pretty underrated passer for his size and position. He has incredible ball handling skills, can post up, slash to the basket, has a decent mid-range game, and is also a solid defender in the paint with his big body and lateral quickness. Zion isn't the best three-point shooter. It's an element of his game that I think, is what leads people to calling him overrated. But again, he's only 20, and that element of his game can be improved. Now, the biggest question around Zion is his long-term health, because whenever you have a big body that has that kind of speed and freak athleticism, you're more susceptible to injuries. And because he relies so much on his athleticism, more so than another big man, injuries could impact the long-term trajectory of his career. Now, aside from Zion's skills, because I think we can all agree that we see that this guy has incredible talent and potential as he enters his prime in the coming years, what is it about Zion and his situation that is unique and could potentially be unprecedented in terms of a move that has never been made in the NBA before? Well, it's no secret that Zion and his rookie scale contract will be eligible for a max rookie contract extension this upcoming offseason, very similar to the max level deals that Luka Doncic, Trae Young, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander received this past offseason. Now, say what you will about Zion not being on the same level as someone like Luka to get that kind of max extension. The fact of the matter is the Pelicans have to offer him a max contract extension. Unless Zion just bombs this year, which I don't think will happen, they have to offer him that, because if they falter and try to offer him any less, show that they're not willing to offer him a max extension and want to just wait and reassess for the following offseason, Zion will not be happy. Impact the relationship he has with the front office, and playing on a bad team at that. He'll either demand a trade or walk when his rookie contract expires, which would be at the end of the 22-23 season. So again, that isn't going to happen. The Pelicans will offer him a max extension, and there have already been reports that they intend to do so. And the reason I say this situation is unique is because never before, at least not to my knowledge after doing some research on it, has a generational talent type player not taken a rookie max extension when it becomes available to them, even if they aren't happy with their current situation or current team and fully intend to leave at some point. Part of the reason for that is, well, it's a lot of money to just say, no thanks, I'll pass on a max extension because I'm really unhappy here, and I'll just take my chances, play out my rookie contract, and look to see what offers I get when I'm a free agent, which, by the way, even then, he would be a restricted free agent if that ended up being the case, if they couldn't agree to a contract extension beforehand, similar to Lauri Markkanen in this past offseason. So, if and when the Pelicans offer Zion a rookie max extension in this upcoming offseason, and Zion passes on that, the most money he could get, by the way, more than any other team, that would send a message to the Pelicans that he does not intend to stay there long term and will move on once his rookie contract expires. Now, the reason that would be unprecedented is because even for superstar level players who aren't too happy or excited about staying with the team that drafted them, they'll still sign their rookie max extension and figure that out at a later time through a potential trade. That way, they at least ensure that they get their max level money rather than waiting for the rookie contract to expire and get the max from another team at a different time, risking potential injuries or decline in play that would impact their ability to get a max contract later on. So if Zion declines to take the Pelicans' offer of a max extension and opts to just play out his rookie contract, the Pelicans would have no choice but to trade him. Now, of course, they would have a year to do whatever they can to try and convince him to stay, make additional moves to build around him further. But at that point, because no rookie has ever turned down a rookie max extension before, the Pelicans would be forced to accept the fact that if we don't move Zion now and try to get assets in return for him, for this generational talent, that he's going to leave. And not only that, he's not going to be as engaged playing his final season with the Pelicans, which could potentially lower his trade value even further. Now, look, I know this whole scenario is pretty far-fetched because it is so unlikely Zion doesn't take a max extension, even if he is in fact unhappy in New Orleans. But if it does happen, this is where AK needs to swoop in and take advantage of this opportunity. Because look, Zion wants to be in a big market. His level of notoriety, his brand, his potential to be the face of the league in the future, the endorsements and sponsorships that can come from that can be accelerated playing in a big market. And of course, on a winning team, which let's hope by next season, the Bulls have shown that they are now a winning team and are just one missing piece away from being a title contender. The problem though, the Bulls don't really have the trade assets to make a move for Zion work, because if the Pelicans now make Zion available in a trade, they are going to be a lot of teams coming out of the woodwork willing to go all in for this guy. However, what the Bulls have to their advantage is, one, being in a big market, but also because Zion would also have leverage in this scenario. He can dictate where he would want to be traded to. And it could be in the form of a sign and trade to where the Bulls would offer him the rookie max extension like he wants. The Pelicans would in theory sign him and flip him over to the Bulls so the Bulls can also use that salary for Zion to operate over the cap rather than signing him as an outright free agent. And the Pelicans, again, still get assets in return. But again though, back to the problem, which is salary cap and trade assets. First of all, the Bulls are going to have limited to no salary cap space available after they presumably offer Zach Lavine a max contract extension next season. And I know some people, have said it before and they've been talking about just trading Zach as an option to get Zion straight up, but it's not going to happen, so I'm not even going to discuss that here. And then of course, unless Bulls are trading part of their core, they don't have the draft capital to make a trade enticing enough for the Pelicans. But what are some trade scenarios that could potentially work? And listen guys, I know these are all hypothetical and I know some of you are going to say, why are we even talking about this? It's not going to happen. But what's the fun in talking about sports and discussing the numerous possibilities of building a franchise? It's part of the reason why people love playing 2K. And the other reason I bring it up is because Zion on this Bulls team would in fact make us title contenders. Now, as I just mentioned, the things that would hold a trade like this back are salary constraints and trade assets. Now, I know Bulls fans aren't going to like hearing this, but you're not going to get a trade done for Zion where you're offering him a max extension that doesn't include one of the big forward salary players that the Bulls currently have. If you actually want to make the money work in a trade and to shed enough salary cap space to make a deal work. So that means Lavine, DeRozan, Lonzo, and Vucevic. They're the highest paid players on this Bulls team, which they should be. And the guy that would make the most sense to trade among those four is Nikola Vucevic. By next offseason, he'll be going into an expiring contract valued at $22 million. He'll be 31, close to turning 32. And although I really like Vucevic for this team, I would much prefer to keep the other three guys in Lavine, Lonzo, and DeRozan. And also, this is for Zion here. We're talking about a 22-year-old player by that time anyway, versus an aging big man on an expiring contract. Now, Vucevic isn't going to be enticing enough for the Pelicans because if the Pels are trading away a franchise-level player, they're going to want more than just an expiring contract in return. And younger players especially, younger players with potential. And that is where I think the package would be enticing enough for the Pelicans to make the trade, and that's also by including Coby White, Patrick Williams, and the Bulls' first-round pick that they just acquired in the Lowry market and trade, the lottery-protected pick from Portland. So the package in full for Zion Williamson is Nikola Vucevic, who will be on an expiring contract, to young players who, in my view, have a lot of potential, especially in Patrick Williams. So Patrick Williams, Coby White, and a first-round protected draft pick. I mean, honestly, the biggest reason why I almost wouldn't want to do this trade is because of Patrick Williams, and I'm sure I'm going to get some heat in the comments for this because Patrick does have a lot of potential of becoming a star-level player and could be the perfect fit for this Bulls team long-term. But guys, this is Zion Williamson we're talking about, a guy who legit would make this Bulls team title contenders even if it meant that you lose Vucevic, Coby, and Patrick. And I'm not too fussed about the first-round pick by that point. Obviously, all of this would change if Patrick just balls out and breaks out this season, or even if Coby shows up incredibly well coming off the bench, because then their trade values would be significantly higher. But I honestly think this would be an attractive enough trade package for the Pelicans that they would bite. Hell, they were okay doing a sign and trade of Lonzo for Satoransky, Garrett Temple, and a second-round pick. They clearly aren't the best when it comes to negotiating deals compared to AK, so this should be more than enough to get it done. Obviously, the Bulls would need to figure out their center position after trading Vucevic, but I think managing to find a mid-level type player at the 5 would be reasonable, given you now have Lonzo, Lavine, DeMar, and Zion in your starting lineup. That would be an incredible team, probably the most exciting team in basketball in terms of speed and athleticism. Again, I know it's unlikely, but who knows if the Pelicans have another failed season and Zion continues to grow unhappy with that front office. There are possibilities for the Bulls front office to jump in and try to take advantage of the situation like they already did with Lonzo Ball. What I want to know is what you guys think of this trade scenario though. Is it too much, too little for Zion? What would be the most you would be willing to give up in a trade for Zion Williamson? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget, which is what sparked this whole video idea, the Bulls will be taking on the Pelicans tonight in their second exhibition game. As always, I'll have a live game chat on the channel as well as in the Discord in case you're interested in joining, so be on the lookout for that. As always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.